Welcome back, rail fans. Sorry again for not keeping up with the quarterly schedule, let alone even monthly. Been hard at work. Just as always, it's challenging to just pause to capture and document what I've done. So we'll just walk starting at Railroad West and move Railroad East, and I'll update you on what we did get done. Engine service facility, I think I had the three-way turnout in before, so now I've finished all three tracks in the engine service facility, all hand laid, code 70, at least temporarily. Have this just tacked underneath the fascia. I'll probably come through the fascia and countersink the switches so that they're accessible but not easy to bump. But at least now I have all three tracks are independently controlled. And the center track does go all the way through into a separately controlled number 10 or number 1 staging track. So that engine service facility is in and functional. Really nothing, I don't think, to report in Butler, so we'll skip over that, I guess. Working our way through Craigsville. And when we get into Moss Grove, I finished, again, hand laid code 70. This is the Pittsburgh and Shawmut interchange track, highly compressed. In the prototype, I think there's a 3-track yard or a set of sidings or what have you, so that trains on the Baltimore and Ohio could work the interchange. Just for space, this is just an interchange track, basically a stub end spur that I think will hold about 7 cars. So that's the interchange with the Pittsburgh and Shawmut. And I believe what I've done in Ship It is, well, I know I've done it in Ship It, but I believe what I'm going to do is have the track here, which I also completed. This is the siding off of the Echo spur, also in code 70. I'm going to have trains setting up the car routes for interchanges. I'm going to have eastbound trains will pull the Pittsburgh and Shawmut track because it'll be trailing point for them, and then set all their pulls and all the setouts for Pittsburgh and Shawmut on this track on the Echo Y, and then the westbound counterpart train will have to come into Echo, run around, grab all of the setouts and pickups that came out of Pittsburgh and Shawmut, and then work the facing point setouts for the P&S, and then come back in, assemble the train, and then any of basically most of the loads of coal coming off of the Pittsburgh and Shawmut that the eastbound local would have set here, the westbound local will pick up and then take to Pittsburgh so they can go into the interchange with the Bessemer and Lake Erie, which is where they actually went. So, and most of the cars I have for that are going to be Bessemer and Lake Erie cars, although I believe there might be some, I think I've got some pictures of some P&S hoppers too. So I did, while this whole lift out, the track is energized just by metal plates that I think I showed in maybe 2 videos ago. And there's no bus through here because this block is the last bus on the 5-amp power booster for this whole first area. But what I did do is create just a 8-position connector and a phone jack under here. Just didn't think there was any other way to do it reasonably. And again, during an operating session, this lift out doesn't get removed, so the fact that I have to unclip that occasionally to bring materials in and out, not a big deal. So that is finished. I've extended signal wire all the way through the town of Dayton. The town of Dayton is now complete in terms of track. So I think I talked about this, but I made a change doing some more research. The Agway that was here, I believe, was actually an Agway, and may still be an Agway fertilizer blending plant. So I think they got hopper cars of either straight nitrogen fertilizer or potash or phosphate or all three, and then blended them into different configurations and mixtures, and I think they bagged them. I would imagine most of the farmers then picked them up. I think there was a loading chute that you could actually load into a hopper trailer or hopper wagon on the other side of the building. But just for the sake of more traffic, I'm also going to have them ship out bagged fertilizer in box cars as well. So that's a little change. The Agway, that was going to be the Agway Energy. I think I'm going to move that up to Clearfield. So I'll still have an Agway Energy dealer along with an Agway, just regular seed and implements company. But this one is strictly a blending plant for fertilizer. I also talked about the Dayton Y and the options of doing a tail track. What I was able to do is the configuration. I opted not to do that. I did the configuration where the presumption is that they took the two turnouts for the Y and just realigned the track to make a spur or a siding for the what I think was the Harmon tipple in Dayton. So I've done that with the roadbed. You can see the old alignment of the Y, but the new spur or loading siding is in the background. But what I did in order to satisfy the need to have plausibility of how it would be loaded, I was able to shift this down by reconfiguring the Agway. I put a little bit more bench work in, totally solid. It's framed in underneath by a cross member, but put a little bit more down here and was able to still have, I think, the three cars that I intended. And was able to pull this turnout down far enough so there's just a small amount between the two turnouts. So now that I can have 6 cars with the first one under the tipple, and then if they were to get dragged by a bulldozer or winches or what have you, they could be all the way through the tipple, and then the last car would be under the tipple. So essentially this siding can hold 11 cars with the center car underneath the tipple if I put the tipple in the middle. That way you can set off cars, and it's plausible that without the need for a B&O locomotive, that the tipple operator could move the cars and actually have enough space to get them all under the tipple and run them all through and still be on the siding. So that's the path I went. Saved having to build one turnout, but I think it also just makes it a little bit simpler operationally and a little bit cleaner, a little bit less track. Here's the other end of the former Dayton Y. Real short, but again, the concept is there. And as I look at this, I note that I also got a tremendous amount of masonite in with the help of my youngest stepson. He's been my official masonite hanging partner. So we were able to get a nice cove in the corner here, which is excellent. So now I can add in the foam, because the masonite has to go in first. Now I can add foam behind this and get the rest of this track that's kind of precarious protected, and start finishing the base scenery in this part of the Dayton grade. I feel like we probably, we got masonite along that wall as well. And I decided I was going to do masonite everywhere over the sheetrock. It's smoother than the masonite's smoother than the sheetrock, and then you can get the coves in the corner. So I appreciate, had some dialogue with John Arthur, who kind of talked me through that problem, and I think we came to a good conclusion to just masonite over the sheetrock. And at the end of the railroad, that's hopefully a very, very long time away from now, that would be a lot simpler than if I had, photograph backdrops glued to the sheetrock. That would be really difficult for whoever follows me to disassemble. So I think previously end of track was somewhere in here. So not only is the Dayton main finished, the Dayton siding is in, and then the Harmon tipple spur where siding is all hand laid behind it. Track is now extended through a number 8 turnout into the grade going up to Valier. And I think I had maybe the bench work in, but not the track. So the track is now in. This second lift out is done. This one does not have the metal contacts because it's even less frequent that this one comes out just to get into the circuit breaker panel. And this actually just has a conventional plug. And I used my lug method using the neutral bus bars, and I just used those to tie the sub bus into the end of the pigtail cord here. And underneath, the main bus just runs through and just be along the wall, so that really doesn't need to come out. The Valier mine, which I think is their Eureka mine, is served by a 40-inch by 30-inch curved turnout, so that's now been completed and installed. I have all the ties in for the Eureka mine, just haven't laid the rails yet, but do have track all the way through the town of Valier. And again, this is a cleat here because the town of Elk Run is going to be over top of this, because this section of track is in the Simpson Tunnel, which I think is the longest tunnel on this section of the B&O Railroad. Then coming out of the Simpson Tunnel, climbing up behind the Elk Run industries like Airco Spear and Jefferson Wholesale Groceries, and then the last one is Federal Laboratories. That grade comes up behind Elk Run, has a little bit of just a jog just for some interest, and to reinforce the fact that we've got some wandering and rolling hill topography, despite the fact that this is a really, really straight, long wall. Just having this little jog creates some interest. Got my registration marks for my super elevation tape per the Derek Glass method. And then we are into Riker Yard bench work. So finally have gotten to the point where we're almost into bench work, and apparently my dog is defending me from intruders upstairs. So made some really good progress. Have also upgraded from just my smart booster, 5 amp smart booster, to a command station and a 5 amp booster over here, and power supply, and that's all connected through the wall, up over the drop ceiling, into the utility closet, and back out over here, where it connects under the bench work with all the other wiring. So now I've got 2 5 amp boosters, and I've got a spot here, I believe with my design, 2 additional 5 amp boosters will sit on this platform, and that'll give me a total of 4, which I think ought to do it, given that it's a pretty large railroad, but not ultra dense traffic. It's not a 4-track main line or anything like that. So Riker Yard takes probably another 8 feet of bench work past where we are right now, and that is where we are so far. I also started getting my first batch of automatic block signals in from Integrated Signal Systems. These are really cool, really happy with how they came out, and got 2 more power supplies, more circuit breakers, PSX power shields, a whole bunch of Arduinos to get the whole signaling system together. So we're coming along. I don't think there's anything else to note, but at least wanted to give you a brief update, and we'll keep plugging away. Till next time.